Hi everyone, today I'm going to be comparing my 2024 Model 3 with the existing generation Model Y. The new Model Y is rumored to be released later this year, but if you're looking to buy a new Tesla, you're probably considering between the new 2024 Model 3, an existing Model Y brand new, or a pre-owned, as the prices are quite similar. So I'm going to be showing you around the Model Y and comparing it to the new Model 3 in terms of the external styling, interiors, how much bigger the Model Y actually is, comparing the cargo space, and whether the upgrades to the Model 3 are that much of a difference for you to consider either waiting for the new Model Y or rather getting the Model 3 instead of going for a bigger car like the Model Y.
If you like this video, remember to click the like button and subscribe. So looking around the Model Y, you guys are probably quite familiar with this model. It has the old headlights. I don't think it looks dated, I think it just looks different. Still a very beautiful car in terms of proportions. I actually think these proportions look a lot nicer than the Model 3, the previous model, for these lights. So I think for this design, it actually looks a lot better in the Model Y than it did in the previous Model 3. As you can see, it's much taller. You have a lot more space. Like as soon as you get into the cabin, you can really feel that it's a completely different category of car. If we take a look at the trunk, you'll see that it's actually like a hatchback. So this part comes off, and then you can actually, have this completely open. You can actually camp in the back of this car because once the seats are down, this is completely open, and there's no shelf over here. Even though camping in the Teslas are quite popular in the Model Y, we are going to try it in my 2024 Model 3 to see how that goes. Another cool thing about the Model Y is that you're able to lower the back seats by pressing these buttons over here. So I'm able to lower, let's say, this right seat over here by pulling onto this lever, and it'll actually fall over. So that's very useful because in the Model 3 you actually have to do it via these handles from the back of the car, and you cannot do it through the trunk. You'd have to go to the back seat to actually do it because it is not open like this. So you can lift it back up. And one interesting thing to note is that in the Model Y, the mechanism for this is powered, if you listen carefully. So you actually have to hold it down to unlock the electric mechanism to close it. So if you don't hold it down, it's not going to close properly, and that's how you close it. Unfortunately, there's no option to power it up automatically, so closing is a manual task. But yeah, as you can see, there's a lot more space. I'm going to compare the cargo space when I get back. I'm going to put a big luggage in as well as a hand luggage in front so we can take a look. Going into the interiors, these are the same door handles as the new Model 3. And one of the biggest changes is the seats. So these seats are not perforated, they are solid. There's no vented seats, so you don't get cooling, but you do get heating, standard. I really do think they made a huge improvement with the seats. Even though these ones look okay, I do think the Model 3s look a lot more premium, more closer to German luxury in my opinion. So let's take a look at a few of the differences. This is what the standard Model Y looks like. This has the white trim with the white seats. One of the biggest changes in the Model 3 is the steering wheel. So I always thought that the steering wheel looked a little bit cheap. It doesn't feel cheap now, feeling it back again, but the new one definitely feels a lot more premium. Especially this part here, it feels like a lot of plastic. And obviously the most contended topic, the stalks. These stalks aren't the nicest stalks, but while I was driving here trying to indicate, these actually feel very nice. They don't feel choppy or clunky. They actually have like a soft mechanism, so it feels very nice. The other thing is, in the Model 3, they've made this whole area the buttons. This has a button inside this paneled area, so even though it's not small by any means, it just doesn't feel as premium because it feels like a separate button, whereas the other one, the whole panel almost moves. This is actually exactly the same. These door bins are lined as well. This one is the long range Model Y. It actually is the 2023 model, so it's the latest, one of the latest trims. This also has the sliding door like mine, although the cup holders are not covered. As you can see, the cup holders now have nudges in the Model 3, so your bottles don't fly around. This feels the same. It's actually slightly bigger because this area to hold your phone is raised over here, so this opening is definitely much bigger. This whole center console is a lot bigger. It doesn't feel creaky or bad by any means. I think they really improved the build quality over the years. And this is the screen, and the bezels are slightly bigger. You guys look for yourselves and see if you guys can see if there is a big difference. So I'll overlay this shot with the new Model 3 so you can see what the differences are. You immediately feel like it is a much bigger car, so you have a lot of headspace. I can sit pretty low, so I can get even more headspace. This armrest looks a lot like the Model 3 armrest, but except this one actually has a latch to close, so there's a physical mechanical mechanism that holds it closed. Let's take a look at the glove box. I think this glove box is a lot bigger. So this glove box, okay, it's not that big. So the Model 3 has like a flat door that just opens, whereas this is a curved panel that opens up. So that's slightly different as well. I'll go around to the back. These seats are different in the new Model 3. There's a lot of space back here, much more space. As you can see, the proportions, there's a lot more headroom. And one of the big changes in the Model 3 is that they have the part that folds out, like that moves out like this, rather than these regular pockets. And the big difference is that these front seats are actually raised on a platform, so that gives you a lot of leg room. Sitting at the back here, you can see that my feet can go far in. I've got these platform Converse shoes, so they're actually quite high, but even so I can move my feet all the way in. Unfortunately, the screen back here and the vents are manual. This is quite a rare sighting because they've kind of removed these now from the new model as well, but they do still have the two USB-C ports. So if you're a person that only uses the front seats, this part of the review may be a little bit irrelevant, but if I'm sitting back here, it is very comfortable. It's massive compared to mine. A lot of the differences are like these are still physical buttons, and there's a code hook here as well. With the Model 3, you know, they're touch sensitive buttons, and the nice thing with the Model Y is that it's one piece of glass, so there's no bar in between over here. Door bin sizes, I would say, are very similar in size from the Model 3 to the Model Y, so I don't think that is that much of a difference. Both of them can fit large 2-liter bottles, so that should be fine. Because it's a long range model, they have this nice Alcantara trim, which is also available in the new Model 3. The suspension definitely feels a lot stiffer than the Model 3 2024. I will drive my Model 3 down this road next, and then we'll compare whether it's more comfortable. Generally speaking, I think these seats aren't as comfortable as the Model 3, so they're a little bit harder, and they're not ventilated like the one in the Model 3, so that's also what you're getting as well when you get the new Model 3. It is very strange to use the indicator stalk. I'm so used to pressing the indicator button, so for some of you that are unsure about whether you want to buy the new Model 3 due to the lack of the indicator stalks, I'm so used to pressing the buttons on the steering wheel now, I'm actually reaching for the button that doesn't exist over here. In terms of visibility, this car has a little bit better visibility than the Model 3. It is high up, so you get to see a lot more. My complaint with the Model 3 is actually worse in the Model Y. The rear window is so small in the Model Y, you can't actually see out of it. Although I do think that in the Model Y, it is not as lifted up. So with the Model 3, it's almost like slanted upwards, so you can't really see out. Whereas over here, I think you can actually see lower as well. So generally speaking, getting back in the Model Y, it does feel like a completely different car. It kind of feels unfair to compare the two, because if you like a higher up car, SUV style car, you know, it's going to be difficult to adjust the Model 3. Model 3 definitely feels a lot more sporty. So today we got to test the Model Y thanks to Janine. Janine owns a store that specializes in a lot of health products. So as some of you know, I'm into intermittent fasting. As the next step, if you get really into using ketones as a source of energy, Janine has really fantastic products that can help you on your ketosis.
Naturally, if you are more or less 16-18 hours no eating, fasting, yes, your body will produce natural ketones.
Yes,
Naturally, yes, naturally. And that will give you more energy, fat lose faster, more focus, all of that good things. It's more healthy too. It will be perfect for you. What happens with these ketones, and they are 99.9% bioidentically of the natural ones, so our body will recognize like if were you producing the ketones 1 hour after you drink one of these. These we have a lot of flavors, like you can check here. All of these are different flavors. 1 hour after you are in ketosis. So you are burning your fat and using your fat like your all energy. That's it. You can find it here. You can find it also online.
If you're interested in any of these products, you can visit Janine's website, and I'll link it down here as well as in the description below. You can use my special coupon code to get a discount as well. So thank you so much again, Janine, and we hope to see you again.
Hope to see you too.
So we look at the styling of the new Model 3. It is definitely much more modern compared to the previous model. I do think that these lights are more suitable for the smaller car. It's much sharper, makes the car appear much sharper. If you look here, I think the proportions are more suitable. Here it doesn't look as frog-like as it does in the old Model 3, for example. There's actually an old Model 3 over here. I mean, right now I think it comes down to personal preference, but I do think that the old Model 3 lights proportions look a lot better in the Model Y. So the cabin of the Model 3 is definitely much nicer. These seats are a lot more comfortable than the Model Y, and just to compare those details, as I told you, this whole panel is a button, so it's not a cutout. It looks a lot more premium like this. This part seems to be exactly the same. The cup holders have these ridges so your bottle doesn't move around, and this integrated panel actually looks a lot more premium because there's no round hole cutout, so this whole panel opens up quite nicely. But this doesn't have a latch, it is magnetic. You don't really need a latch, to be honest. And over here there's quite similar. This is a little bit narrower than the Model Y, because the Model Y you can see that there was a nudge out here. But overall, take a look at the screen, and the bezels are smaller. And overall, you know, I actually prefer the steering wheel. I've gotten so used to these buttons that I'm actually not used to the stalks anymore. And the shifting is so much better, to be honest. Like, I think that shifting with the stalk feels a little bit outdated now. Other difference is that in the Model 3 we have a split. The rear seats, these seats definitely look a lot better than the Model Y, and unfortunately there's a split over here. I did try the audio system in the dual motor Model Y, and I couldn't really tell the difference in audio quality, so I haven't tried the long range of the Model 3 yet, so I think the sound might be even better. But I think that the standard range model speakers are the same, if not better, than the long range Model Y of the previous model. So if you guys are worried about the sound system quality, rest assured that the sound is very good in the standard range Model 3. In the new Model 3, they've also added these latches underneath, so when you close the door actually stays stabilized inside here. It's for the front and the rear. And the door closing sound, I'll play a clip now to compare the door closing sound of the Model 3 versus the Model Y. Front doors, rear doors, and here is the new model. It's much more solid. It actually feels like a German car. It's a big improvement. Let's compare the front space of the Model 3. As you can see, that it's big enough to fit carry luggage and a small bag next to it as well. It is definitely not as deep as the Model Y. And these mats are from Yeslac, as I mentioned in my previous video. but the bottom finish is similar to the Model Y, but there's no extra step on the side here, as you can see, and the windshield washer is moved down here instead of up here. So this front is a lot wider. I can really see that it's much wider, and there's actually a step over here, and just like the previous Model 3, the windshield wiper fluid is all the way up here. So with the new Model 3 they moved it down here, so it's much easier to fill up. It's a lot deeper. Obviously there's cables down here. I don't think you can add two, but as you can see there's some extra space here on the sides. Add the same bag that I had before, and then you'll have a little bit more on the side here as well. But otherwise the front isn't that much bigger. The trunk is phenomenally big, it's huge. Okay, so the rear cabin space, the rear cargo space, as you can see, it could easily fit one big luggage and maybe another half one. If I move it in this way, I could probably fit a luggage and some golf clubs, but that's basically it. I mean, it's pretty, there's not much space on top here. Like I said before, you can't open the you can't fold down the back seats from the back here. You have to do it in front. It's not powered like the Model Y. You just pull it down manually, and it closes manually as well with a regular latch. Looks like it just fits. I definitely don't think you can put two of these in here. If I close it and push it down, I've obviously got cables underneath as well, but you can see that it's also big enough to fit a luggage under the Model 3. So definitely not a lack of space, but you can only put one of these large luggage bags. You can probably put another medium one. And the nice thing is that the Model 3 is lined, whereas the Model Y and the old Model 3, this is plastic. So this does feel a lot better. I definitely think that would improve the camping experience. It'll feel like it is, you know, more of a bed than just plastic. In the back here, it is a lot bigger, like much bigger than the Model 3. So if you can put this in here, easily goes in, and you can obviously, you know, push this up and stack it on top. So you can have, actually, it's wide enough to have two of these bigger luggage bags, potentially four. If I put it this way, like in my Model 3, easily set golf clubs, and the under storage is huge as well. This is much bigger than the Model 3, as you can see. So if you have a family and you need a lot of space, then the Model Y is definitely a much better option. Okay, so this is the road we drove up earlier, and the suspension in the Y definitely feels stiffer than this. This one feels a lot more comfortable. You're definitely seating a lot lower than the Model Y, so it feels a lot sportier. Yes, the suspension is definitely much smoother than the Model Y, and these seats are quite comfortable. The previous ones aren't uncomfortable, but you definitely feel the difference. This feels, in my opinion, closer to leather than the old Model Y. The cabin is significantly quieter in the new Model 3 versus the Model Y. Yeah, it's definitely quieter. There's no doubt about it. The quality of the steering wheel is a lot nicer than the Model Y and the previous model. So I think the overall verdict is, if you're looking for a bigger family car and you need to buy a car right now, then the no-brainer choice is the Model Y. But if you want a bigger car and are able to wait till the end of the year, I think the new Model Y, codenamed Juniper, is going to be fantastic. I mean, the interiors of this is vastly upgraded. Like, they did a lot of small things that improve the overall quality of the car. If the Model Y Juniper is anything like the Highland, it is really going to blow the previous model out of the water.